So hey y'all, thanks for coming in to the second episode of the Optical Octave podcast. I'm joined here today with Nordic King, and we're talking about random game modes, or something like that.
More like unique gameplay mechanics is kind of what I was thinking.
Not exactly like mechanics, but like goals.
Anything out of the ordinary from your like adventure platform FPS, like
Just normal RTS puzzle kind of stuff.
RPG kind of thing. I guess I'll ask you this first things first. You eat anything good this
I was
week?
gonna say we need to break into this. I actually had like this kind of like dirty rice with hamburger thing. It was pretty great. Pretty
Whoa.
great.
Was
Yeah.
it like homemade or
It was homemade, and we
restaurant?
went, yeah, balls wall, spared no expense.
So
No vegetables,
what you're
no.
telling me is you fucking opened up a package of Uncle Benson's rice and fucking mixed in a pound of hamburger. That
we
sounds like a
can't,
white.
we can't afford Uncle Benson. We got like cousin Larry rice, you know. So
That sounds like some white trash shit. But all right.
yeah, no, no tour de Taco Bell or anything like that. So nothing too fancy for us. How about you?
I had just today. I'm always on a food adventure. I had my usual Chinese buffet
Oh,
every
did you?
Monday.
What'd you have at the buffet?
I usually do like 80,000 pot stickers. That's just the reason I like Chinese buffets.
Oh, that's the way to do it with the
I end
sauce
up
and
doing the
everything.
same thing whenever I go to like a sushi track place. Yeah.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I remember there was one place that you recommended out in like Beaverton area that you were like, oh yeah, this place, and I didn't realize that you're just a guy that gets like a mountain of pot stickers, and like there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I just like I went in expecting like a full like, oh, this whole thing's really great, but the pot stickers there were really great.
I mean, I like the other stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, they had whole squid there, and I grabbed one. I wasn't I wasn't exactly sure how to eat it. You know,
Well,
I've had
I
like
want to know why you got pissed off at me. Like when you're like, well, I tried something exotic and new and didn't like it, with no frame of reference of knowing if it was good whole squid or not.
I don't know if I was being straight up offensive, dude, because I was sitting in the booth. I had my phone out and I was like watching a video of like how to gut squid because I was convinced this
Oh,
squid wasn't gutted, dude. Like I was about ready to
yeah.
pull out my pocket knife, but I was wrong. You could just eat the whole thing, I guess.
Oh, gross. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, like I like a lot of exotic food, but that kind of thing, not quite for me.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, you do like more conservative stuff like calamari chips and stuff, right? The little
Yeah,
deep fried
sure,
kind of stuff.
sure.
Y-
Anything deep fried is good.
Yeah, I was down south. I had deep fried catfish. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's fucking amazing. Way
Yeah,
better
it's
than chicken
good.
strips. So
Yeah, it's really good.
anything you make tastes better when you fry it, and anything fried tastes better when you deep fry it. My
Yeah, it's
pappy always
absolutely.
said. Okay, so game mechanics. You know, I was thinking we could start out talking about something that came to mind for me, and I know it's something you like too. Was Harvest Moon series.
Oh yeah, no, like fucking since the N64 Harvest Moon,
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of following the franchise, but like, it's Harvest Moon Back to Nature is probably one of my top 10, maybe even top 5. I can't say that. There's so many games, but it's one of my favorite games of all time for sure.
Back to Nature. That's the 64.
PS1,
Oh, that's PS1.
PS1.
Okay, okay. Harvest Moon 64 was just 64, right?
Harvest Moon, like everything on 64, was just that 64.
Well, those
Yeah.
bits, baby. You gotta flex those bits. You know that matters.
Well, Nintendo has a long history of calling games after their systems, but that's another story.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think the first experience I had on Harvest Moon was the 64 version as well. Um,
That was at my house in the fifth grade.
yeah, on the farmhouse and stuff in the little
Yeah,
shanty.
which is funny because I was living on a farm at the time and didn't have a lot of interest in actually gardening or taking care of animals.
Yeah, you're like, oh, we gotta go take care of the cows.
Yeah,
Fuck
I was
that.
like, I'm gonna fucking stay inside and pretend to do this.
Yeah, I remember, you know, because I think either I picked up a PS1 or an N64, and I was playing one of them. and my dad would walk by, and he'd just be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like just like shearing sheep and stuff, milking cows. Just kidding, I didn't really mess with
Yeah,
sheep
I
very
guess
much, but
you ended up living on a farm for a good number of years of your life as well, and I would not define either of us as like farm types.
just
I
like
mean, I can talk the
necessity.
talk a little bit, but like, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Out of necessity, it's like, okay, I guess we'll go handle
yeah.
that.
I only ever moved hay or anything because somebody was paying me, or if like my parents or grandparents made me, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I had to do that every year. In fact, like my dad still calls me like every year, so that's fun. I'm
For
getting
those,
too fat and too old, and he's old, you know.
oh
So
yeah.
I don't know how the hell he's still out there doing it, but he likes to drive the truck more now. So
I will say, for those of you who don't know what Harvest Moon is, it's a farming simulator story game. I don't know, dating sim, farming sim. A really strange, like, if which is weird. I'm thankfully I had an older brother that was pretty smart about buying games, you know, and would research stuff quite a bit. So, but like, if you would have tried to have sold that to me at, you know, 9, 10 years old or whatever I was at the time, I would have been like, no, no, like, I would have probably, if it were up to me, I'd have been like, let's buy Army Men 64, you know.
yeah. Well, here's the thing too: is like even if you explained it to someone in the modern day, and you're still like, okay, look at it through the lens of like more of a retro game, even though there's modern adaptations, it's still
Yeah.
like it doesn't sound attractive to people. I mean, I was
No.
surprised with like the Facebook Farmville when that took
Yeah.
off, because that was kind of
Yeah.
the same idea, kind of.
Well, I don't know. I never played that because it's like, you know, I always fulfilled that need with Harvest Moon. But
Yeah, but just the
I don't know.
premise. I mean, there's a big cult following behind it, and even like farming simulator and stuff like that's even more niche, but there is like a strong following behind it.
I feel like, you know, well, I think a Natsume or Natsum or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
it's a solid
the
company. It has a
developers
solid,
of Harvest Moon, in case anyone
yeah,
doesn't know. You keep going. Or publishers,
is
sorry.
whatever they did. You know, they have a decent reputation. They can make a decent game, you know, but like, I think even, yeah, even today, if I'm like, no, you have to play this, like, you have to get this, like, it's always been a really hard sell, unless like a friend came over, I think, and that's how you got into it. You came over to my house and saw me playing it, and you're like, whoa, and then I gave you a turn, and then like I woke up at 3 in the morning and you were still playing, like you,
Fall harvest is coming in, baby. I can't turn it
yeah.
off now.
What's funny is I think you're like, I'm married but now, which is a lot of progress in the game.
Yeah, so basically the game works. You inherit this farm. You go through. You fix it up. You make friends with the villagers. You find a wife. I think in the new ones you
Yeah.
could even find a husband. I don't know. Don't quote me on
Yeah,
that.
they made female versions.
Yeah, yeah.
So Back to Nature was for PlayStation 1. Then they
Mhm,
released Friends of Mineral Town for Game Boy Advance,
yeah.
and
Which
which was just like a 16-bit port of the Back to Nature. And then they released a game called More Friends of Mineral Town, I think. And I think that one you played as a girl in a Back to Nature type setting.
I went through and I looked at how many releases there's been for Harvest Moon, and there's so many. There's dozens of titles to this day. Looks like there's one that's supposed to come out or did come out February 28th, 2017, and it's called
Oh, really?
Story of Seasons, Trio of Towns, and that's for the 3DS. I haven't played any of them. I remember I had a flight a little while back that I had a 2DS Harvest Moon game, and it was not good, you know. So I think
Yeah,
that the retro years were more of its prime years.
that's the thing, is like I always like, well, I kind of follow news loosely, and whenever they announce a Harvest Moon game, I'm like, oh, sick. And then I go and look at anything about it, and I'm like, oh, never mind.
Last time we were talking about emulation, right?
Yeah.
And I will say for me, I know you're an avid collector. I'm not. I have some cartridges. but
Yeah.
I'm not. I've never set aside that kind of money to collect some of this stuff. I know the original Harvest Moon on Super Nintendo. I never had access to that cartridge, so emulation actually gave me the chance to actually play that one. I don't know. Did you have a different experience with that?
I don't. I don't even know if I went back and played it on emulation, maybe briefly, but as a collector, I did end up buying it. I got it for like Evo and other games I got pretty early on for better price. I got it for like $80 if I remember
Nice,
correctly,
nice.
and now it's worth like three, I think, or around
Yeah,
three.
yeah, they're pretty spendy.
And when I bought it, I put in a lot of hours, but I was playing as an adult who already, was familiar with the franchise. And I guess the biggest thing you can kind of say about it is like compared to the others, it's just more primitive.
Yeah,
There's no inventory system. You can only hold like two tools, I think, ever. And like, if you want to like harvest anything from the woods, you straight up have to walk up to the woods, pick it up, and carry it off the mountain back to your shipping box.
and one thing that was interesting about that, correct me if I'm wrong, but like there was the day and night cycle, but night never ended.
I think Harvest Moon 64 and Back to Nature were both like that as
Did
well.
64 didn't end either?
I'm pretty sure it hit a certain point and it just wouldn't go and it wouldn't just time wouldn't go forward anymore. Or it would make you like pass out in the field, like if you were sick or something.
Yeah, if you overworked yourself, then you'd sleep in
Yeah.
late and stuff and have a horrible start for the next day.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure that was the thing. But
Yeah, I'd say I'm just gonna blanket it. Like the Harvest Moon series is definitely one of my top games ever. Kind of,
there's
you can burn so many hours in this game and just get
yeah.
lost in it.
Well, like there's a bun and there's a like you said a bunch of them. A lot of them not worth playing.
Hmm.
There are a couple notable ones though. I feel like I can at least name one. A Wonderful Life for GameCube. I did play. It was a lot different from the other ones,
Uh
but
huh.
I don't know. I liked it. I remember putting in a lot of hours, but it wasn't as nearly as satisfying because I kind of just wanted that traditional Harvest Moon gameplay.
Did that one go from the year system to the chapter system?
Kind of. It went by like it had four seasons, each
Hmm.
with I think 10 days. And so you'd play 40-day years, and then between some of the year, like it'd be your after your first year, you would have a second chapter, and then all of a sudden you'd be married, and you'd play another 2 years. Then after those, you would all of a sudden have a kid. There wasn't as
Oh,
much like
the courtship.
control over it. Like the courtship was like you would end up married to the one that of the girls that you talked to the most, I guess,
Really
or gave the
interesting.
most gifts to. I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird concept. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't the same. I'd say more than anything, it kind of had a really nice vibe,
Hmm.
atmosphere. The graphics for GameCube were pretty and had really nice, relaxing music, and it was kind of one of those games. It was like you just sit back and play and be like, "Ah, this is nice." Like I could just sit in this world forever.
By comparison, I know I'm pretty sure it's been a few years since I played them, but 64 and the PS1 release, like it was 4 seasons, 30 days each, right?
Yeah.
And then you played for 3 or 5 years.
3 years, I believe. You had it was whether you beat the game or not or succeeded was based on the fact of like how well you did within the first 3 years of your farm.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And that'd come down to like if you renovated it, if you expanded your house, if you had a wife, if the townspeople liked you.
Yeah, it was all there was a lot of factors like how good your farm was, how much money you've made, how many friends you've made in town. Like in the N64 one, they had this scrapbook kind of thing that would kind
Yeah,
of
the
let you know your
pictures.
progress. Yeah.
When you expanded the house, you got like the unlockable picture you could
Like
collect.
there were like unique experiences you could have with certain townspeople. Like, oh, if you happen to run into like so and so at this point in time, or if you give this person this gift, or like, for example, like Potpourri was one of the females you could court in the game. If you planted like 4 plots of flowers, she would like show up at the first of spring and be like,
Hmm.
oh, and there'd be a picture to commemorate. I don't weird stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then another part was power berries. So I remember it was always fun to go around and find the unlockable power berries, and like you have to go through the mines and like try to chop down trees, all sorts of weird
Yeah,
unlockables.
there was one where there was like, yeah, they there could be kind of obtained from a number of different things, but yeah, they increase your stamina, make it so you can work longer.
Yeah, definitely. Some of those collectible things I thought was really like fun to do after you get past like like, oh, I'm farming, oh, my farm is tits now, I have it all dialed in. You could actually go after those collectibles, and that's where I think Back to Nature did a lot better job. I mean, it did a lot better job in a lot of different ways in my opinion, but the collectibles were a lot better in that one.
Well, I will say Back to Nature was just a direct improvement on Harvest Moon 64.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely, I agree.
with everything, like, instead of having press start to access your inventory every time, and like, if like a PlayStation, there would be a slight loading time to get into your inventory. So they had hotkeys, like you could use a combination of the shoulder buttons to pull out items and tools, which like was the biggest lifesaver ever. Like
Yeah, because to
that
turn
was
in
a game
crops or
changer.
whatever on the 64 version, you had to press start, scroll over to the item, like double click A or whatever to equip it into your hands, and then you would throw it into the bin, press start again, grab the next item, and that took forever.
That's why, yeah. Well, I mean, you could strategize around that by getting a basket or like using your horse to harvest shit. But like,
Sure, but there was cost behind that too, because another interesting concept is when you start the day out, time progresses all day, and when you're outside, time doesn't stop in these ones, in the early ones at least.
yeah,
And so when you try to like get your horse to collect for you, like that's you're choosing between like convenience of real world time and like in-game time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like you could miss the horse, like bad things happen, and it could end up being like 2 o'clock in the game before you're ready to go turn
yeah.
everything in.
For sure. That's the kind of game, once you get a routine down, you're like, okay, it's 6 a.m. I got to go run, take care of the chickens, take care of the cows, meet Karen over here at 4 o'clock so I could give her a flower, meet
Yeah.
so and so here. It was like you have your entire day down.
That's part of the thing that always happened to me, no matter what version it was, is that like I would just get bogged down. Like I would make maximum efficiency. I'd push to get the greenhouse because it was technically indoors. It would stop time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like and I could just like like an hour and a half had gone by in game, but really I've spent the last 2 hours on the single day kind of thing, and it just got ridiculous.
It does, especially in Back to Nature when they made like the max number of animals and stuff you can do much bigger.
What was
Like
it,
I
like
think you could get
20?
16 cows or something like that
It was
as
something
opposed to
outrageous.
8.
I think it was 20.
Was it? Yeah, it was something ridiculous,
And then
man.
like 10 or 20 chickens. Probably like 10. I don't remember.
Have you played Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley, yeah, yeah, that's a great game. I probably put in, I think, nearly 30 hours right when it came out, but I was in
Let's
school
see.
at the time, so I had it was like right before finals or something, so I backed off.
Says I have about 60 hours, I think.
Oh, I think I did 30 hours, and I feel like I didn't do anything in the game.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a big game, and that was like the best version. Like, they took everything good about Harvest Moon and some of those other kind of similar style games I never played any of. Like Rune Factory, maybe, was another
mm,
one
hmm
that was like similar, I guess. They took like all the best mechanics of all those games and gave the fans pretty much exactly what they were looking for, I'd say. Like,
it really felt like in Stardew Valley specifically, like they really knew and understood what made Harvest Moon great,
yeah,
and they really just wanted to make it even better. They have 24 hours.
yeah. For me, as like a huge fan of like retro games, it was and a really niche genre, you know.
Hmm.
It was exactly what I needed. Like after all these years of not playing Harvest Moon games. And it's one of those things where people that listen to the fans or when fans make games, they occasionally will just like fulfill everything. Like the fan, like I mean, I don't know. I can't think. I mean, it has. I mean, it's not perfect, but I can't really think of anything like huge complaints about the game. You know?
Crazy thing about that game too is I think that's just one guy. One
Yeah,
guy's doing that whole
totally.
game,
He
and
did the
it
music.
yeah, the music's great, and you talk about like paying homage to retro. Like if you see it, it's absolutely
Oh, it's
a Harvest
beautiful.
Moon game. You know,
It's like
like
a 16-bit, but like style, but really beautiful, great music, great atmosphere. Man, I really like that. That game was the biggest blessing I ever
that
received for that year, I think.
was
Especially because I don't think
2016,
I
I think.
knew about it. You
Hmm.
know, indie games are a lot harder to follow. So it's just like suddenly this beautiful game appeared on my Steam list, and it was like, oh yeah, I'll try. I heard about it. I'll try this. You know, and
Literally,
it was
that's
like,
how I found out about it. It was like, hey, you like games like this? Check it out. And I saw that I knew nothing about the game.
oh
Saw
really?
the trailer on like the Steam page, and I was like, oh my fuck, I'm buying this right now. I don't care how
Yeah.
much it costs. And like installed it that night, played it, for a few hours.
And that says a lot because Octave's cheap as fuck.
Yeah, I don't like buying games. I'm a lot more willing to buy indie games full price than I am triple A's. Just to be
Yeah.
fair, to be fair.
My brother, I think, must have texted me or called me and was like, hey, have you heard of this? Get this. Or maybe it was my old roommate, but like,
Hmm.
I think was just kind of like, hey, dude, they made like a Harvest Moon type game. Get it. And we both on laptops at desks. Like we used to have two desks set up side by side in our living room, which is so nerdy. We both sat at our desks in our living room with our laptops, just like pouring the video game heroin into our arms.
Oh
Like
man, the
it was,
unlockables in that game, I didn't do a fraction of what you could. I read about it afterwards, and there's
I got
so much.
pretty close. I was doing pretty good. I didn't totally 100%, but I got pretty good.
So that one's unique in comparison to Harvest Moon. It's not like just like a Harvest Moon ripoff, to be fair. Um,
No, it's like an homage and an improvement, I
yeah,
think.
definitely someone who enjoyed Harvest Moon took
I
a lot of
now
care in it.
I haven't played it, but I know that this game is like that. But have you played Super Meat Boy?
I have a little bit. I haven't beat that one, but yeah, I have.
That's like another thing. I know that was a really big hit, made by two guys, I believe, and it was another one of those games that was like kind of paying homage to this retro style that, and it was a huge hit, and it took everything kind of good about retro platformings and all that kind of stuff. Don't quote me on it. I'm just going off
Oh
of
no,
what
that
I've
was
kind of
huge.
heard.
Yeah, and something interesting about Super Meat Boy. I think Super Meat Boy, Castle Crashers, things like that. They really set the tone for indie games being mainstream hits and being good.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that they're the subject of a documentary. Have you seen that?
I haven't. No.
There's a documentary on Netflix called The Indie Game, I think, and it's been on Netflix or sometimes it's on Netflix. But it follows the guys making Super Meat Boy through the development and the guy on a separate story, the guy who made Fez.
Fez was another hit. Yeah, so that really set this thing for indie games because so often I think before that time people heard the name indie games and they just thought it was bad. It had a stigma behind it. I don't know what your experience with it was.
Well, for me, indie games were kind of like I wasn't super. I mean, I had Steam pretty early on as far
Yeah.
as like with for like Half-Life, TFC, Day of Defeat, Counter Strike,
Hmm.
you know, all that stuff. But as far as like a regular place where I was buying games, no, not so much at the time. And I was still weird about not having physical properties, you know. But I think, you
Hmm.
know, like a lot of people, I bought the Orange Box collection, and it, you know, makes you get a Steam account in order. Then you just have to download them. I think I don't remember exactly, but kind of lame. And I think at the time I maybe had DSL, but I could have still been riding, dial up. It was like I have to download it. Oh,
I don't have a CD key anymore.
yeah.
So Orange Box was interesting. Did that one come with Portal?
I think it was. Let me see. I still have the games in my library. Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2, Portal, believe. Do I have Portal in here? Yeah,
Yeah,
Portal
Portal one. Yep.
came with TF2 before that was free, and I think
Hmm.
that was it. Those 5 games.
I think everyone that was like a Valve gamer got the Orange Box.
Yeah, or if you didn't buy them one by one as they came out, but
Yeah, definitely.
I think I think it was a big thing. It definitely like, and I don't know if Valve knew how smart they were doing that, but like definitely got a bunch of people on Steam, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like that wasn't the first time that Valve bundled games like that.
Yeah, they did that with Half-Life and stuff as well.
I think Half Life and some of their more popular mods that are now standalones, like the original Team Fortress Classic, the precursor to Team Fortress 2, Counter Strike, which are Counter Strike's now a fucking phenomenon, and Team
Yeah.
Fortress 2, to be fair.
I think the box set you had when we were younger or kids even,
Mm-hmm.
you had, because I know you burnt it for me at the time. I think it was TFC, um, Half Life, Half Life Opposing Forces, and maybe another expansion. I don't know if it had Blue Shift or not, but
I don't think I had Blue Shift. No.
I think it was like Opposing Forces, Half Life, and TFC.
Yeah, some classic
It's hard
games,
to remember. It's been a long time.
definitely. Well,
But my point was, though, real quick, going
mhm,
back to indie games,
mhm.
what for me, I didn't take them very seriously because for a while it felt like what they were selling on the Wii shopping channel, or you know what I mean. I don't. Did you have a Wii early on? I don't know if you did.
No, I personally did. I was around a lot.
Like they had a shopping network, and
Yeah.
anything that wasn't a retro gaming game, they had some indie games. But it's like, why would I want to? If I've got $10, I'm gonna buy Mario Kart 64. I'm not gonna buy some random trash game. And I
Yeah.
think what
Oh, so
happened
so
is, like,
much.
actually where that started was I was in Texas living for a while, and I didn't have any consoles with me. So I went to a local GameStop and bought a DSi, which I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
I never had one of those.
It was just a regular Nintendo DS, but
Yeah.
it could connect to the internet. And the
Oh,
guy
okay.
at the GameStop was selling me on it, like, oh, because I wanted to just buy a DS. I didn't know about the DSi at the time. I'd been out of the loop, so I was like, oh, dude, I want a DS so I can play some, sweet ass DS games. And he's like, oh, well, we have this new thing, the DSi. But, and one of the downsides is they had gotten rid of backwards compatibility with Game Boy Advance on it. So I was kind of bummed about that, but he's like, don't worry, man. They're going to put all those games on the shop network on the DSi because it connects to the internet. You'll be able to download them to your fucking DSi. And I was like super stoked, and of course betrayed. I got home, got on the internet, and they had no retro games, not one retro game on there. That you could only buy indie games that I had never heard of, knew nothing about. I think I invested like $5 to $10 in one, and it was pure shit, and I was super pissed. And then I followed it for, after that, like, when are they going to start releasing retro games and Game Boy Advance games for this? And they never did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
didn't know
even
about
until
that.
3DS that they started releasing, what do they call that, the classic console, retro console stuff, whatever,
Hmm.
games, retro games for their handheld shop network. But it was really slim for a long time, and I'm pretty sure it still kind of sucks. And I'm not even sure they do Game Boy Advance games yet. There was the only way forever to get handheld Game Boy Advance games on your modern handheld was with the 3DS, if you bought it at launch or within the first few months, they dropped the price after about 2 or 3 months of the 3DS. And to reward everybody who paid full price for it, they made them, they gave them 10 game, what was it? Was it 10 Game Boy Advance games or 10 Game Boy Advance games, 10 NES games? I
Wow,
think it was like a total of 20 games,
that
which
could
was
be a
really,
really good, yeah.
yeah, it was really sweet because I think they significantly dropped the price. They didn't want people to feel like totally betrayed, you know,
So you can get your
because it was
Mario
within the
3 for
first
five
6
bucks.
months. Yeah. So it actually included a lot of really good titles too. It was like Zelda the Minish Cap for Game Boy Advance, Yoshi Island Advance, like I can't remember exactly. It's been so long, but Metroid Fusion, a lot of like main title Nintendo games. Like the NES one had the first Mario, Zelda, Zelda 2, uh pretty good. Ice Climbers, Wrecking Crew, Kim, oh, man, I wish I had it in front of me. I would pull it up, but yeah, no, it was a sweet deal. But my attitude, my point being, is my attitude back then towards indie games was like, "Fuck this," you know.
Yeah, the with the mainstream indie games, like a lot of stuff got more niche, and a lot of stuff was or a lot more mainstream and accepted, and there was a lot of throwbacks to a lot of those retro consoles. You're talking about we were talking about Harvest Moon and stuff. Talking about simulators, kind of like farming sim stuff. Like I think a lot of the
Yeah.
sims provide unique unique insights and unique kinds of games. Another sim that I had fun with was Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh my god, dude, I love that fucking game.
Yeah,
Did you have it?
yeah, I definitely did.
Just played at my house.
Oh well, yeah, I played at your house. I had it. I think I
I
have it on my Steam.
I do too. I occasionally fire that bastard up, dude. I fucking and I just what was the game I was looking at the other day on Steam that looks a lot like
Oh
it?
yeah, we were talking about that.
Planet Coaster?
Planet Coaster. Yeah, I don't know if that one's good, but it's
I was
exciting. You
it
know.
looks really I don't know. It's a game that once I have a better computer, I'm gonna look forward to buying because I Roller Coaster Tycoon, once again, smart older brother. Maybe I should talk to him someday and figure out how he got his insight to all. I think he spent a lot of time on our dial-up modem looking at good shit coming out. But
Between that and Nintendo Power and everything else, he
yeah, and
had to know.
Electronic Games Monthly. I think we had subscriptions, or what do they call that? Subscriptions to a couple different magazines. You know, I mean, my brother somehow weaseled his way into E3 in 2003 when he was a senior in high school.
That's nuts. That's
And that's
absolutely
back
awesome.
before they let the public in. So you had to be part of a developer or like some kind of software. I don't know exactly what the circumstances were to get into E3 back then, but my brother knew somebody's dad, got him and three of their other friends at not even maybe 18, 17, 18 years old into E3 2003. So like that was a pretty sweet deal for him. And so he's always been really up to date. So, but Roller Coaster Tycoon, man, and the expansion packs also good.
Yeah, so like I remember initially like you learn the game, you play with it, and like you get like you get like the stock shitty rides, and
Yeah.
you go through and you get the stock roller coasters and stuff. But where the real fun started to happen is when you started playing God and start making these crazy roller coasters and stuff.
Yeah. Or you would go out of your way to make dangerous roller coasters that would kill park attendants, like people attending your park. You'd make these super intricate, crazy roller coasters that would kill these people, and they most of the time they'd be like, "I'm not going on that. That looks too scary." Then
Yeah,
two dudes would get on it,
die.
and you'd be like, "Hell yeah, finally!" You know.
This one's free.
Or you would do like social experiments, like for those of you who don't know, Roller Coaster Tycoon is like a build your own amusement park operate, run your own amusement park simulator kind of game.
And it's detailed. Like you have entrance fees, you have booths, you have entertainers, you have soda places, you have
Maintenance, you gotta like have maintenance people,
janitors,
custodians, and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
It's pretty detailed on what goes on, and then you
especially
control the
for the time.
price. Yeah, control the price of the rides, and then you can like pull up individuals and like do surveys and focus groups. Like it's pretty
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, especially for the time. But it's also just like even casually really fun. But I remember doing like social experiments. Like you'd build an island, put one guy on it, and have like free soda and free hamburgers and all this stuff, and then make the bathroom cost $10 to use,
Yeah.
and see if he would have to pee and poop really bad, and he'd be like, "I'm not paying $10 to use the bathroom," but meanwhile this guy's like about to die, super pissed off. But like, it's like, come on, man. How much are you willing to pay to use the bathroom?
Yeah, we have all these free sodas. You're hungry, man. You're
Yeah.
thirsty. Or like I remember there was this duck swan ride that you can make a little enclosure for, and people would paddle these little paddle boats around in
Yeah.
circles. But you could get rid of the enclosure, and they just like go off into the sea, like over to fucking
Yeah.
Europe and shit.
I love that game.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
How about, did you ever play The Sims?
Oh yeah, I definitely fucking I threw down. I think I played The Sims all the way through Sims 3.
Oh, really? I only
Yeah.
played the original.
Played Sims 2 was amazing, a lot better, and then Sims 3 was great too.
Oh, really? There's,
But
I
if you
think
want to
there's
talk
the
about,
4 now.
yeah, I think there's a 4. If you want to talk about playing God, I mean,
Oh my God. The Sims was amazing for the, and especially the first one. And like, I mean, you'd spend hours in build mode trying to build a perfect house or just like a cool pad and all that.
yeah, and then like you'd get your guy or your girl or whatever, and it was always guy. Who am I kidding? It was your guy. It was you,
Well, I
your
mean, we're
friends,
males, so we play as males.
and you'd have him, like work out and read and learn how to cook and like get this awesome job, and then you just try to make sure he didn't die or get fired.
Yeah.
And that would fund your crazy house building experiments and
A
amazing
lot of,
game systems and stuff.
I think most of my gameplay though in that game, I mean, like I played it straight, but like I think a lot of my play in that game spawned from cheating myself money and using cheat codes so you could move stuff that wasn't supposed to be moved.
Yeah, that was like the natural progression. Like after
Yeah.
you grind super hard, you do everything, and like you've done a lot in the game. You're like, okay, now what can we do that's just like unworldly, and you start getting unlimited money, and you start doing all this stuff, and you have all this power. And you start manipulating the neighborhood and like killing your neighbors and stuff in these
Yeah.
crazy intricate ways and stuff. Yeah, it was
That, or like you would kill your character, but death would come, like whenever a character died, death would show up and like take them and turn them into a tombstone or something like that, I think.
Mhm.
And then, but like if you had cheats on, you could make it so death never got to your character, so there'd just be like a dead body on the floor of your house forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think of
Or it
some of
was like
the
finding creative ways to kill your character. Like
yeah.
you would put a bunch of long curtains in your kitchen right next to the stove, or like put a barbecue inside the house next to a bunch of curtains and carpet, and then delete the fire detector or smoke detector. Yeah, see if you could get your guy to die that way. Make your hallway super long so he couldn't run out of the house, or make box him in. Yeah,
Or
pretty
like
fucked up, really.
before yeah, it sounded pretty bad. Before I got into like cheating and stuff, like using cheat codes, I don't know, it's kind of okay in that game to really go crazy with it in my opinion. But like I would do spouse farming, because like you work, you make $1,000 a day or whatever, it's really good, but it's like, how do you make 30, 50, 70 grand, in a pop? You'd marry somebody and you'd kill them off, and then you'd marry somebody else and you'd kill them off. So you'd get these relationships with these people, and you'd end up getting married, and then you got to play with the like creative ways to kill them and stuff. And
Yeah.
the backyard would be full of tombstones and stuff.
Yeah, but just fucked up if you were thinking about that guy who just like poor dude, you think he'd be committing suicide after his second wife dying. But
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm just going to my school, my job as a professional skateboarder
Yeah.
and coming home every day.
Eating macaroni and cheese and playing video games, passing out, getting to do it again.
Oh yeah, and like I was always super lazy about like having them make dinner, so they ended up living off snacks. So they were
Like
eating like
pizza guy's
potato
always there
chips.
and stuff. Kill the
Yeah,
pizza guy so you don't pay for it. No, just kidding.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
God thing got out of control. Really, a reflection of your character, I guess. So.
but I mean, like I think that's how a lot of those games are. It's like like this outlet to go crazy, and like even like if you go back to SimCity 2000,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember in this it's a lot harder
Great
to
game.
be super creative with, but like it was like, oh, how big of a city can I make, and how badly can I ruin it?
Let's throw a hurricane in there or a monster. That
Yeah.
sounds great. SimCity 2000 was a great game. Classic.
Yeah, that was my and probably my introduction overall into the sim games.
I remember
Any kind of sim game, any kind of simulation, I guess you'd call it.
they came out with a new one like years later after that one came, and it was like hyped and stuff, and people started playing it. And it was just awful.
Really?
So everyone went back to Sim 2000,
Well,
and it got
I had it for PC. PC. I had it for PC
yeah.
originally, and then I don't know if I ever rented it, but it also a port of it came out on Super Nintendo, which I have now, and I know a lot of people's memories for SimCity 2000 actually are the Super Nintendo one, because that's the one where you could like call Bowser to destroy your city like
Oh, that'd be
Godzilla,
tight. That'd be
and
insane.
like it was a little more 16-bitty, where the one on PC had a little probably more detailed textures and stuff. But
But no Bowser. That's pretty amazing.
actually, I
I
don't know
didn't know
if it
that.
was. I think the one for SNES was just called SimCity. I don't know if it was SimCity 2000.
Huh. Yeah, I knew that it
Yeah,
existed. I remember attempting to play it one time, but I'd
which
played the
was probably
PC
just a
version.
port of the first SimCity game on PC.
And it was so hard. I mean, it's like playing, like imagine trying to play like an RTS on console. You know, like Command and Conquer on console, which was a
Oh,
thing. Like 64
I've
had
never
Command and
done it.
Conquer.
Yeah, I know. There was Command and what was it? StarCraft 64, and was there Command and Conquer 64?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
On one of those, there was for
Yeah.
sure,
It
and which
was
is impossible without
God.
him. Now it's so dumb.
I
Like
mean, and then especially what RTS has evolved in today, like you need a fucking keypad
you need
because the macro and
speed.
micro is
Uh,
insane.
Not only that, you need the speed and efficiency of a mouse. Like
Hmm. Yeah, dragging that little.
like imagine trying to Zerg rush on a fucking on
Yeah.
a N64.
Imagine
Not
trying
to
to do
mention,
anything on an N64 controller.
not
Like
to
that
mention, I
design
bet
is
when you
awful.
had that many Zergs on the screen, you probably dropped frames and shit.
Oh, we have
I
16
know it
units.
was a
That's too
really
many.
crappy port, if I remember correctly.
I didn't know there was a StarCraft
Yeah.
RTS port for the 64. That's crazy. Yeah, here's another game that I was thinking about. I don't know if you ever played it. I never played enough of it to be a pro, but I played enough of it to get the Katamari series.
Oh, I know a lot of people really like them. I have one or two of them for PS2,
Uh-huh.
but my brother just gave them to me, and he gave me his PS2. I'm pretty sure he had like a wife at the time that didn't like him playing video games or something. I don't know, but he gave them to me, and I popped it on for a little bit, and it's fun. But it's one of those things I never got into.
Yeah, no, I never got crazy about it, but I really always like for some reason irrationally was so excited to play it. It was like this crazy weird game.
They're super Japanese.
Super Japanese, super weird. Basically you start as like this individual thing and you roll up into a ball and you get bigger and bigger and bigger and you start out like the size of a mouse and you end up like swallowing universes by the end and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know a lot. There's like it's one of those games that's a huge cult following,
Yeah.
you know. Just not one I necessarily got into.
I just thought, we were talking about interesting mechanics, and I thought that I don't really know of any that are exactly like that.
Well, here's a pretty deep cut that I had.
Oh yeah, what you got?
And this is I don't know. I haven't met many people played it. I know people have, but like it was called Simcopter, and it was a
Sim.
helicopter simulation. And you could actually load up your cities from SimCity 2000 and fly around
Really?
them in the most primitive, shitty 3D ever.
Are you
Yeah.
serious? That sounds insane.
Like it had ridiculous fog. It was like really, really primitive 3D models, and you flew around it in a helicopter doing missions. Like you would have to like pick up. You could like stop riots like by shooting tear gas from your helicopter or like a fire hose. You could stop fires with your fire hose on your helicopter. You could
That's good because those fire you didn't strategically put fire stations around like they just fucking sucked. Saying.
you could like do transport missions. They were super. It was really, really primitive. I mean, it would be one of those games if you were to go back and try to play it now, I bet it would be like pretty much unbearable.
I'm looking at it right now because I've heard that before, but I've never even looked at it. That's interesting that it was
It
developed by
supported joystick
Maxis.
though. Yeah, it was made by Maxis, and it was the same people who did SimCity, and
And
that's why
Sims.
you could import your SimCity 2000 cities.
Mm-hmm.
But my SimCity 2000 cities were always really shitty, so it was almost not worth importing. I don't know. That's a kind of a deep
So you just
cut.
started with a random stock city because you're horrible at making cities and stuff.
Well, SimCity 2000 was actually like one of those games that was probably too complicated for me. I was really bad at it. You know, I didn't know. I would like, get a couple neighborhoods, then blow the rest of my money on a marina. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm like, sick marina boats, sick. People like that. They'll
Some
move
people
my
like
city.
boats. I'm a good
Yeah.
god.
Plus, I like knew nothing, like anything that had to do with like the numbers and like when people are like, that's why like SimCity for Super Nintendo is probably way better, which I even had a hard time with because it's like kind of more kidified. There's like the mayor character who comes on and he's like, "You're doing really bad,"
Sorry, buddy.
Lower taxes, build a fire station, moron.
Well, I had a different experience. I played it when I was a kid, and I remember it being like too much for me as a kid. But I played it as an adult, not that long ago. Like, I guess it's been 2 years, but I mean enough to remember. And I was stuck in a snowstorm at my house where I lived up, kind of like in the mountains, kind of. And so like, I was snowed in. Like I couldn't leave for days, and like my nearest neighbor was like a mile and a half away. Like I was fucked.
Yeah.
So luckily, uh the electricity held, for about a week, and my satellite internet was able to hold for some reason. And I just played fucking SimCity 2000 all fucking week, dude.
Did you so riddle me this? Like, I've actually never been good at that game.
Yeah.
Do you like actually get pretty far? You do pretty good?
Yeah, I did. And like I got to the point where, I was driving through a town and they were working on this big construction project. And I was like, why are they putting an on-ramp over there? Like, don't they know the flow of traffic's going to be better if they do? Like, I'm some fucking expert, because I'm like, played so much fucking SimCity recently.
Which one was it?
It was 2000, dude.
Oh, really? So it still holds up?
Yeah, though I had fun with it. This was like years ago, but there was a snowstorm and my internet sucked, so I had to play something, So, I'm sure if I had...
I think that goes back to, like, that last time we talked about, like, the emulation thing of, like, and if you have one cartridge,
Yeah.
and nothing else to do, goddamn, I played Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool one time for the Super Nintendo for a really long time, trying to beat it, and it's so bad.
Yeah, I put a lot of hours into Home Alone,
that's
on
an
Super.
action platformer that stars the Cheetah guy, Chester Cheetah from the Cheetos commercials.
Yeah, it's a game based off the Cheetos commercial. I've seen gameplay of that. Looks pretty fucking awful.
Bad. It's like so broken, so bad.
Definitely, it seems fucked. But yeah, I was I was up there. I was on satellite internet. I didn't have fast speeds. And nothing else to do. I think I had like a PS3 up there with like Skyrim that I'd done, 500 hours in or something.
Yeah.
A lot of something different, so.
As a guy who's done a lot of online dating and like people that claim to be gamers and they say Skyrim, I'm always like, how many hours can you put into that? Like, that's your one and only game you play? That's what they always say, like, I pretty much just play Skyrim, you know? It's like, what? That came out like, I don't, 5,
Dude.
6 years ago?
Oh
Like,
my god. I could talk about Skyrim all day. You know, I don't want to be one of those people that are like, oh, this game sucks after they have, like, 6 days of real life time in game, So I'm not saying it sucks at all. It was a lot of fun, but it's like, it came out 6 fucking years ago. The remastered edition just came out, and it's like, how are people getting stoked for this? You could have modded it at any given time and had this enhanced graphic package.
Yeah.
I mean, the DLCs came out, and there was like some interest, but by the time like 2012 was halfway done, I was pretty much over it. I'd pumped in enough hours. I'm ready for the next Elder Scrolls.
Oh, I played it for weeks, like straight. Here's the fucked up thing: I didn't have an Xbox 360 or a PC strong enough to run it, so I went to a friend's house, but he was living in like a shop building at the time, like a metal building with concrete floors, had a little room over in the side with a couch and like an old CRT television, and we plugged in his Xbox 360, and I bought Skyrim for it just so I could play it at his house. And we took shifts, no joke. I was unemployed at the time, had a decent amount of money saved up, and I would play from like 4 p.m. till 4 a.m. in the morning while he was like asleep from staying up all night, and then he would sleep while I played, and then I would go home at 4 a.m. and he would wake up at 4 a.m. and play till, like 4 p.m. when I got there the next day again, and I seriously did that for weeks. I would show up with like energy drinks, beer, and cigarettes every day.
Have the little fucking space heater going and
yeah, no joke. It was so ridiculous, man. But I mean, like, that says something about how good it was.
It was at the time. It was amazing at the time.
But like, I will say, like, a lot of people are starting to kind of notice this about Bethesda RPGs. Their like quests are very repetitive, and some of them feel really lazy, and that was kind of something I ran into in Skyrim after a million hours. It was kind of like, okay, go to this cave that looks like every other fucking cave in this game, kill a dragon, kill a fucking dragger or whatever, a dwemer, whatever, and go home.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, go get another mission, go to this thing, grab this quest item and bring it back.
Yeah, there was a day where I think I found myself on top of like an epic mountain looking out at the horizon thinking to myself, like, what am I doing with my life? There's other games out there.
So you were like, you had a Kansas dust in the wind scenario while playing Skyrim.
Exactly.
You looked over the well-rendered mountains and fields, and you fucking had a dust in the winds experience.
Yeah, I did. And then I turned it off, and I never turned it on again. And people still play it. I mean, to this day. Like I said, the remaster came out, and it became relevant again. I'm just like, put pressure on Bethesda to come out with something new. I feel like I could talk about Bethesda a lot. They have a lot of.
Well, I put, man, for as many hours as I've put in Skyrim, I'm kind of like that with Morrowind. Like, I can kind of revisit that game every so often and start a new record and just fuck around in it for a couple days anyways, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just,
I feel bad for people who started in Skyrim, right? Because going back to Morrowind or Oblivion's like gonna be almost gross,
Oh, they could.
Because not to be a graphics whore, but like that was a big part of Skyrim,
Yeah. Well, definitely. That's like, I couldn't go back and play Arena or whatever the other Elder Scrolls. There's 1 and 2. I've tried them before, and it's like, oh my god, this is unbearable. I'm sure there's a big group of people out there 5 years older than us that played those on PC, whatever, in the early 90s, whenever they came out, and they're like, oh my god, they were so good.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. That's how it is.
But
Um,
it's good to set the bar, like, I don't want to say low, but like I'm really glad I grew up where my first gaming experience was on NES, and to have nostalgia for that, because then those kind of games never, you know, I mean, it's get boring, but like you at least respect that kind of gameplay for even after playing games like The Witcher 3 and Final Fantasy 15 and whatever, you name it, Metal Gear
mhm.
Solid 5. Like after I can play all those and then still go back and play Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Um, yeah, I'm that way with like with indie games. It's like when I find a good indie, I definitely play the shit out of it. And
You didn't play Undertale, did you?
no,
That was pretty interesting. I
yeah.
don't have that much to say about it really.
Oh, okay.
I liked it, kind of burned through it in one day. You know, I appreciated what it did. I don't know. A lot of people, it got a lot of awards, I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on it, but I know a lot of people really liked it, compared it to Earthbound and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
that's what I've heard. A
Definitely
lot of
had a
people talk about that.
similar personality, much different gameplay. I would say play Earthbound, you know.
Yeah.
I don't. It
Um.
wasn't bad though. Like I got it for a couple bucks on sale. The soundtrack is amazing on Undertale.
Mhm.
Uh, give it the 6 or 7 hours and play through it once. You know.
Yeah, I'm playing a kind of a go back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, an interesting kind of mechanic game. Right now, Inside or Limbo. They're by the same developer. I don't know if you're familiar.
No, what's that about?
I was streaming it the other day. Basically, it's like a platformer with like this really dark tone to it with some puzzles and stuff. It's really interesting. You get really immersed into it, really engrossed.
It's not like Trine.
No,
No.
no, it's not like Trine. Oh, that's another game we we ran through. I might overlay this video with it or something because it was pretty interesting. Really
Yeah,
dark, really
the
gritty.
second one was a lot prettier, I felt.
Trine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job with trying
I mean, I don't want
to
to talk about that much, but you know.
compared to the other one. But no,
A
this
question.
was. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Trine series was kind of like more of a puzzly, felt more puzzly than the one I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
So this one, Insider Limbo, I forget which one. One's a sequel, pretty much. Is a lot more like about choices you make. Like in the moment, you have these decisions you make, and there's like this crazy story going on in the background that you're trying to figure out. There's no narrator guiding you through it, and so you draw your own conclusions. I don't know, won a bunch of awards,
Oh,
kind of
I
like an
like. See, I
Undertale.
like that. Like they, it's like the dark tales of side scrolling, as you put. People like to compare.
Sure, yeah, 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 yeah.
It's like Dark Souls
Dark
gets.
Souls, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what I said before. Dark Tales or something like that.
Dark
Dark
Tales.
Dark Souls gets brought up a lot as like the modern incarnation of a retro gaming, like NES gaming,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, oh, it's super difficult. It takes a lot of it is level memorization, boss fight memorization, and there's like almost no tutorials. You really just have to figure it out.
Yeah, it's Dark Souls is like everyone loves. I mean, everyone
Yeah.
says like, "Oh, it's super fucking hard."
I
Did
played
you
the
play
third
3?
one. I
Oh,
played the third one for a little while, put in a decent amount of time, but I think it's one of those games that if you don't necessarily have the patience, it will, like, you'll put the controller down. And I had every intention of going back to it and never did. I'm looking at this Limbo game right now. It looks cool. I really like the graphic style. It's neat.
well, I need to finish it, so I'll be streaming it. So if you want to
Okay.
hang out sometime while I'm streaming
Yeah.
it,
Fuck that. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding. Nah, I'm cool. Um, So we talked earlier about like Roller Coaster Tycoon,
Hmm.
Sims, and stuff like that. During the time period of Roller Coaster Tycoon and Sims and stuff like that, spawned a bunch of knockoffs, a bunch of spin-offs and knockoffs. Did you play any of those?
I can't think of any. No, I'm kind of at a loss for what you're talking about.
I remember my cousins, like, got into Roller Coaster Tycoon, so they'd go to like their local grocery electronics store combo and would buy you know, whatever on the shelf said Tycoon, not necessarily made by the same people. It'd be like Zoo Tycoon, Prison
Oh,
Tycoon,
okay, yeah, yeah.
Ski Resort Tycoon.
Hmm.
I was curious. I always thought they looked like really shitty knockoffs. Some of them I heard were actually pretty good,
No,
but
I've
like,
never played any of that stuff. There's modern day adaptations of that,
oh really?
adaptations of that. Yeah, there's like Prison Simulator and like all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it gets the sky's the limit with that stuff.
I think I had a friend tell me that Zoo Tycoon, he really enjoyed it, but he could be looking back with, you know, rose-colored glasses. But
Nostalgia goggles on.
yeah,
Zoo Tycoon 2001 release.
all right.
Oh, it got re-released in 2013. Ooh.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
man. Who
It
is
is
the
a
publisher?
series of business simulation video game. Developers: Blue Fang Games, Frontier Developments, Behavior Interactive. Publisher: Microsoft.
I don't
Hmm.
think that was the same people who did Roller Coaster Tycoon, though.
No, no, it's
So it was like them trying to get on that bandwagon.
yeah. I don't think so. Let me make sure. Yeah, no, no, it's definitely.
What was Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Chris Sawyer Productions, no longer in
That sounds
existence.
right.
Frontier Developments, End Space. These ones were when they remastered it. Publishers: Infogrames, Atari Inc. That's it.
That game was just one of those random little gems amongst like the weird racks of games you were not. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess you could kind of compare it to the indie game of the time a little bit because, like, you remember there was like, you know, your mainstream games like on the shelves at the store, be like, you know, I don't know. Doom, Quake, and all this shit in nice boxes. Then you go over to like the CD sized games, like they were just a jewel case on the spinning rack, you know. A lot of them really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
A lot of them
The
really bad.
the like next
Some
to the
good.
sunglasses or whatever, there'd be the
Yeah.
$4 fucking shitty game pack, 4 games in one, and then right next to
Now,
that would be Roller Coaster Tycoon.
now I don't know if that's actually true. I might have been in like, you know, whatever box display amongst all the other,
That's how I
you know.
remember it.
But that's how I remember it. That's
Carmen
definitely how
San
I kind
Diego
of.
or something.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of how I considered it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But I don't know. I don't know if I ever gambled on games like that again. I'm sure I did and was disappointed.
Well, hey, we're right at the hour. If you want to do your plugs, amazing stuff.
Oh man, I really have nothing to plug. I don't know.
Nothing.
uh,
Your
it's
SoundCloud.
just nothing there yet. Nothing on SoundCloud. Keep, you know, I'm always, I say most nights that you're streaming or doing YouTube recording or anything like that, I'm usually involved. So
Mhm.
I guess just go to Octave's page on YouTube, which I'm sure he'll want to plug. He'll probably edit something in after this saying like, hey, acting like we just said it or something. I don't know. But he'll put it something there that says like, you know, check the shit out. And that's usually where I'm at, you know. I have nothing.
Yeah, I know
Look forward to
you're.
some good music coming. I keep saying that. My tax return is submitted and I'm gonna get a new computer. I got everything's gonna get set up soon. Be sweet.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. I know a lot of the people we game with, even all the way as far as England, are looking forward to some of those releases from you.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. I talked to an English gamer, popular. I don't know about popular YouTuber.
Sure.
I don't know what the fuck. I've never seen his videos, but I talked to an English gamer, and yeah, we had a lot in common about musical taste. Even kind of offered, "Hey, man, I'll make you a track or two. That's no sweat off my back." You know, and I know a lot of YouTubers who try to go legit, or like even Twitch streamers who try to stream legit. You know, want good free music that they could use without, you know, having to pay anybody or get their shit flagged or whatever for, or taken down, you know, or like even in some cases their account locked. I know that happens. Like, I think the people streaming or putting new Persona 5 footage on YouTube were like getting threatened with like a 6-month YouTube account lock or something crazy like that.
Definitely. Thanks as always, Nordic King, for coming by. It was great.
Thanks as always.
As always, yeah.
Second time.
Well, always, I always say thank you for hanging out in general.
Yeah,
Thanks
sure.
for grabbing a beer with me. Thanks as always. Always a pleasure to talk with you every single time.
Yeah.
And thanks for stopping by. Anybody that stopped by for the second podcast. Look forward to more to come. It's going to be a great time. If you enjoyed anything at any time, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.
Peace. Love you. Bye.